Welcome to Recouped the podcast, where we uncover the depths of sustainability and its impact on the world.
We're your hosts, Vicky
and Michelle.
And together we'll explore what it means to live more sustainably. Girl, you know what made me really sad the other week?
What?
So I'm out here doing my 20-minute power walk in the morning through our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, just living the life, and it was recycle day and garbage day, so everyone's cans were out.
That's a good way to figure out who your neighbors are.
And no, for real.
Yeah.
I'm like, power walk. Oh yeah, I could just steps in listening to music. And I'm like, horrified.
Oh no.
I shouldn't blame because I don't know the situation. But in the garbage, this person had 2 containers of spoiled strawberries. and you could, they were full.
Oh no.
And so first, my not wanting to shame, but in my head go, oh, you could have told me about those a couple days ago and I would have fed them to my chickens.
Yeah.
Maybe something happened.
Put them in the compost bin.
Yes. So that's where I am. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, what else is in there? Of course, didn't want to stop because I was power walking, but I saw this in the garbage and I felt bad just thinking about like waste.
Yeah.
And just how money waste, food waste. The plastic carton was actually in the garbage versus it could have been in the recycle bin, and the recycle bin was out. I saw it. I'm not shaming. I'm just saying bummer, wummer. We could have done something. We could have done something different. And so I guess when I think about it for me, I'm thinking, oh, I could have given those strawberries to the chickens.
Like, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, don't be so hard on yourself, but maybe there are other ways to get rid of it. And I'm really sorry if something happened. Maybe there's an emergency that happened and they had to leave, and then they came back and their refrigerator was full of spoiled food because they couldn't get rid of it or give it away fast enough. But I know for me, like, since I have chickens, sustainable thing that I do in my house is I food scraps, you know, the ones that I feel healthy about, I give to the chickens. But I also I know a lot of people keep their eggshells, but I do keep the eggshells too to give back to the chickens. I'll crush them up and then I'll use them in the garden. So, I mean, I know that's one thing that I for sure will do in addition to composting, right? We talked about that before, but eggshells are something. Yeah. But what about you?
And then when we talk about like introducing sustainable things into our household or what we do to like, and we've kind of talked about it a lot on past episodes and stuff, you know, the things that we do like thrifting and my first go-to is always just making sure that I'm like lecturing a little bit on the importance, because I'm like, the most sustainable thing not sustainable, but I guess the best hope for the future is the kids.
No, you're right.
So when people are like, oh, people keep having too many kids and that's a problem, but I'm like, that's the only but it's also the only solution is having kids that are going to learn how to do it right, you know?
Yes.
That's going to be the only hope.
Yes.
You know? So then once I figured that out, I was like, oh shit, like I need to start making sure that my kids are part of this good solution.
Part of that cycle.
So like talking to them more about it and trying to lead by example. Or if I do something that I'm like, okay, I don't normally want to do this. Like it's like mom just put this in the garbage and I shouldn't have. And like, I'll make sure to be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like,
but you're saying it out loud.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, not to like shame myself or anything, but then when we do talk about it, we're like, oh, what are more things that we do? Is sometimes, like I was saying, it's hard to even think of it sometimes until I see what other people are doing. Like if I'm with somebody else who like isn't
as conscious.
Factoring, then I'm like, oh, I guess over the years I've been doing pretty good. You know, because some people don't even implement it in their house. Like they just really.
No, that's true. Like, but then I think it also, with the implementation of that kind of things in the houses, like you have to think about how people grow up and if it's important to them, right? So in a few episodes a while back, we talked about waste management and like that being accessible to people, or how people grow up and there isn't recycling, there is just garbage and you just throw everything in the garbage. So I know.
But it wouldn't even be those people. It's going to be the PTA mom type people, the ones that are throwing the big elaborate birthday parties for their kids, that are buying all this stuff that just goes into the trash. You know, those types of situations where it's like not even crossing their mind.
Correct. Correct.
So those are like where I'm like, okay, now if I look in stark contrast to that, like we're doing a very good job.
Yeah. Well,
our footprint is very small in my household in comparison.
And I think like with that too, like I know I challenged myself a while ago with my partner, just because like he grew up in just a garbage household, right? Because they had accessible to a garbage dumpster. And then when I came into the picture, I was like, we are recycling. I'm paying for the recycle bin. We're going to recycle. And so I made a challenge in our household. And this was like well over 10 years ago now, right? I was like, I want to see how few garbage bags we can take out at the end of the week. Which was because then we wouldn't put cartons and boxes and all this stuff in the garbage. And we got down to 1 bag a week, which was pretty good. And generally it's not always very full. It's just kind of stinky because it may have like meat, you know, kind of things that are in there. And so that was just one thing, is like being able to recycle was just my one little baby challenge. And then I felt so accomplished when I realized we didn't have multiple bags that needed to go out to get tossed. There were actually bins that were going, you know, out on Thursday.
So I think, and that's like, so doing that experience that it was like purposeful. It was almost a challenge.
Yeah, and it was tangible. You could see it. Yeah.
Yes, and then you can see it. So that's where it starts to become like a routine. Or it's, for me, it's more of like, I'm going to try this and see how it works for a while, like kitchen compost.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you see what you can get out of it.
Yes.
And then going back almost isn't an option.
No, that is correct. Like,
because then you're like, throwing food in the garbage can.
It feels wrong.
It feels wrong.
It's like wrong.
Yeah.
It's
so
wrong.
It's just like stick it out, just try it, and again, like pacing yourself, like just try one thing at a time.
Correct.
You know, like getting like in the summer times, I like to not even use my dryer. So I'll wash clothes and then I'll hang them out to dry. Like those are the things that it doesn't take
it doesn't
long.
take a lot.
You just grab your load and go take it outside and throw them. I don't even pin them up. I don't do anything. I usually throw them over the backs of my lawn chairs, the swing set.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I'll go grab them and they smell good and they're dry.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good one. Like if you have the ability and the time to make something like that happen, I think
and it
that's
breaks
great.
up the monotonous cycle of like daily chores.
Yeah. No, I like it.
So those sort of things, like I also, my kids do garbage as chores, so we use
that's a really
like,
good way.
We keep everything separate, and
that's
they
part of
do
introducing it to like those habits to the kids.
Yes.
Though, like having them do the chores. It may not sound fun, but there is a thought behind why.
I think it is like there's something about it where it's like if the trash is really heavy or something like that, it's like, oh my gosh, like why do we have so much trash? Maybe there's something there that's like if they have to take the trash out every week, it's going to teach them like we can do less. Also, I don't know. Now that we have headquarters here at my parents' house in their garage, you noticed, I remember, or how tiny the garbage can is inside the house. It's a tiny little garbage can.
It's tiny like the kind you'd put in your bathroom.
And my parents never bought garbage bags. They would just use grocery bags.
Yeah.
And like even when I was younger, because my mom always got paper bags.
Yes.
She never got plastic ones. And we would use like the paper bags as a trash can. And I remember you were like, you know, like, have you guys always done that? I'm like, yeah. And it's so annoying. I know, like to have to take the garbage can all the time. But I think there is that like subconscious, like you're not going to throw things away when you know that.
You're not going to put the milk carton in there.
Looking out for future you, you put your stuff in there and then it's like, oh, now I have to go take it all the way out.
Yeah.
So there's like that intentional.
Like for me, I'm like, well, I'm not going to put the big thing in there, especially if it's going to be recycled, or maybe I have to peel an extra thing.
Like this one container of lettuce.
Yes.
You know, once the lettuce is gone, like it fills up the entire bin under the sink. So those are those types of things where I'm like, okay, this is a good habit. It seems like it might be annoying, but it'll teach you discipline.
Yeah, no.
Anything.
I think that's one way to make those kind of things stick. Is just like,
and it is so rewarding once you do like establish a little bit of discipline, which is what it takes. But
so like when you like, I'm just thinking about like the discipline and having like the kids take out the recycle bin, or the recycling, and then they have to organize and they have to sort through all of it. And do you think like, what's your vision for the future besides them being great at doing chores?
For the kids?
Yeah. Like, do you hope that they're going to be like, they're going to be the voice for, hey, that can go in the
they
recycle
already
bin.
are a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, they would say like, I'm so annoying.
Yeah.
About everything. But I can see that it works.
Yeah. I think it's also really empowering, right? For them, like, for them.
But the nice thing about kids is like, you know, people are like, kids are so resilient, this and this and that. When they don't have to unlearn anything, then it's just, that's how it is.
Yeah. No, you're
so you don't
that's
even,
a good one.
and it's great. Having kids is like a way to unlearn things.
Yeah.
Because you can be like, no, we're going to do it like this. And then you're like, oh my God, but it's really hard. It's really, really hard. It's harder for you than it is for them.
Than it is for them because they don't know any other way.
They don't know any other way.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think it's really beneficial, like, to introduce, like, you just even doing chores or sustainability or recycling, whatever it is, to the kids when they're young, just for the sake of, like, it just makes them a little bit more conscious. Like, my nephew, they sent me a video. I should have re-looked at it to talk about it, but my nephew was doing a presentation at school about plastic in the oceans, and it was really cool because then he had a little blip about, like, how much plastic is in the ocean, and then it creates the island and all the things that we've talked about or that people know about. And it was just really sweet because then he's been a champion for recycling. Like, they always were. They live in New York, so they have to be, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's just so awesome to know that he himself, not just because those are the rules, but, like, he's a champion for that because he's also an animal lover. And then it was also really sweet because then my sister brings in, well, Auntie Vicky, you know what she does, right? She also saves the world. She does this, she does that, and just letting them know that we make the reusable bags and different things like that. But I think introducing that stuff when they're young can benefit them just because as they grow up, they can be champions for it. Their self-confidence, right? To be like, I did this, I did that. Maybe they can even educate their
because
friends.
that is another thing. It's like when kids start feeling successful about something that they're doing is where that self-esteem is being molded, and then they can take that into life. Yeah. So, and a lot of times that's used in, like, sports. That's what kids are being, like, parents will, their kids are being successful in sports and stuff. But again, that's not a sustainable lifestyle for most people. It's very expensive to keep your kids in sports. Yeah. And a lot of kids just aren't sport type of kids.
They aren't.
Yeah.
I think we've all figured that out.
Gearing them into other ways that they can be.
That they can.
Yeah. Successful.
Be successful.
And it doesn't have to be getting a trophy for sports or, school and stuff. It can be
something that happens practice, every day,
lifestyle
every
stuff.
week.
Yeah. But I guess the, like, shopping small, all of those things in your household, like, when I was growing up, like, we had such a routine for shopping. My mom bought the same things every week from the same store on the same day.
Listen,
it was the same thing. Whereas, like, I'm like, I can't wait to grow up so I can just go buy whatever the hell I want. And I can eat whatever I want, and I can go to the store at midnight if I want. Like, I was like free, moving out at 18. Like, I'm not going to eat chicken breast and, this type of cereal anymore. but then I'm
chicken
like, no,
thighs.
She was so sustainable in that way.
Was.
Like,
she was, and she is. That's so cute. Like, there's, like, little things here, like, I don't know if that was your mom. It's like, do not recycle the bottle.
That's still my dad's
handwriting. Way to go, Dad. Do not recycle the bottle caps or tops. Put it here for disposal. Yeah. Too bad Pops isn't here to actually dispose of it.
I know.
It's getting full.
It's getting full. It's like the same one.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah. Or same with, like, typical dads, like, don't touch the thermostat.
Yeah.
Turn the lights off.
Little did
or, like, I've told
know.
you, I'm like, all these little things in my head where I'm like, no, my kids, I'm not going to yell at them when they keep the refrigerator door open for too long. Something I used to get yelled at if I'd even open it. It's like, it's not a grocery store in there. You only open it when you know what you're going to get, and then you shut it.
I remember a friend's dad was like,
we don't want to waste the energy.
When you leave the door open, I've only ever heard it from him. He's like, where were you raised? On a barn or in a farm? I don't even know the term.
Were you born in a barn?
Yeah. To me is a very American thing. And I'm like, I obviously can't even translate it now. When I heard it, I was like, I don't know what that means, but he's definitely telling me to shut the door. Yeah. That's all I know. Yes. I gotta shut the door. I'm gonna get in trouble otherwise.
And I love open doors. Like, I think it might be because I was always being told to shut them. Like, coming over to my parents' house and, like, still can't leave the door open. Yeah. The cat will get out.
Oh, yeah, the cat will get out.
But I love having open doors.
It's nice.
I love just being able to walk seamlessly. I don't know. But anyway, that's off subject.
That's just living sustainably for you. Yes. You like to sustainably. It's easy access to all rooms and all spaces because all the doors are open.
I made sure to get eco-friendly light bulbs and see what that impact has made, just because I like to walk when I'm doing all my house chores and stuff, like walking into an open door and the light is already on so I can do my chores. And walking back out. So when somebody goes in and shuts it and turns it off behind me, and I'm like, with my arms full, and I walk in the bedroom, I'm like, it's too dark in here. Like, my flow gets interrupted.
I just started thinking about this, just thinking about sustainability. I was just thinking for myself. This is like most random. about like, so you're teaching your kids sustainability. And I remember me, because I'm thinking about what experience have I had that ingrained in me. I will say when I was younger, I was in Girl Scouts. Mm-hmm. And that is what just
drilled
seeped
it
into my soul about recycling, because we had to do these recycle days, and we had these big giant bins, so the community would come and recycle, and us little girls, like we were like young middle school, we had to sort through people's recycling to put them in the bin. And I remember just being like, it felt satisfying. I was like, yeah, we're doing something for the environment. But then it was also really gross.
Yeah, because you're touching people's garbage.
Yeah. It was. But I do remember, I think that moment was really when it ingrained in me as like recycling. This is what we do. And we're so, like, we have, being where we are in the Northwest in Washington, or our area of Washington, that recycling and garbage and all that other stuff is very accessible for us.
I have a good recycling story too.
Tell me.
So at our old house, we drove by the other day when we were stuck in traffic, but our old house in Riverside, Everett, Washington area, it's like the historic, there's all the big old houses, but there's like all the garages are not attached. They're like in an alley. So you have alleyway and street parking. Yeah. But I loved it because like the kids, of course, like loved to play in the alley and jump in the puddles. But we also lived in an area where there was a lot of unhoused people and transients and stuff. And we lived close to where the mission was for men, for houseless men. And so, there was like the regular transients that would have their carts full of their things and stuff like that, and most people are just like put off by it, like, oh yeah. But I remember one time, like, I'm at home with the kids and I get a knock on the door and I open it and it's like this regular man who's like, lives out of his little shopping cart, and he's like harmless. He's an older man. My husband had given him things before, but he's like, is Mitchell here? And I was like, oh no, he's not. Can I help I was like, you? Yes, what's going on? And he was like, oh, he's just such a great guy. Like, he lets me take all the cans out of the back of his truck. And I was like, oh, well, our bin is full in the back. He's like, okay, great. Like, so then, I mean, every day this guy was coming just like rummaging. Yeah. But he was so happy that we were just like, here you go. Mitchell would like pick up cans and throw them in the bed of his pickup truck because it was always parked on the street. Yeah. And it was easy for the guy to just come by and like grab all the cans out of the back of his truck, because then he would go turn them in for change and stuff. So, and I was like, oh, he's like such a sweet guy. Yeah. He was so happy about this, delighted. He was like, I'm going to get a good payday because of you.
That's true. When I was younger, I don't know if it was Girl Scouts or if it was somewhere else, but we did collect cans to fundraise. Like we just had, that was gross too. Yeah. Bags and bags of cans, and then we went down somewhere and deposit. I mean, when I say deposit, it's one at a time. Yeah. Or back in the day. Okay, this is like almost 30 years ago. Back in the day, and you would deposit these cans, and you would get money, because
you can see the
like
money just
5 cents.
Ting, ting, ting.
And I was like, oh, so I mean that's one incentive.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we're doing now.
Yeah, we are. We are.
It doesn't have to. I mean, everything is useful. Yeah. If it's here already and the material is here, we don't need to get new ones. But yeah, the cans and all that stuff, like there's a whole market for that. Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about it a lot too, the reusing when you have to get resourceful, like that man in China who takes our Christmas lights and turns them into something else. Like, you don't get that resourceful until you really absolutely have to. Yeah. When it's your only way to survive. But again, that's one of those crises where it's like we can't really wait until crisis mode to fix this problem, because plastic is going to be a really big problem. But.
Well. Yeah. I mean, so we know that it can be difficult to be mindful, but you can just do a little bit.
Yes, that's like our number one recommendation, is just like a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Something that'll stick.
Yeah, something that will stick. I think I like it. You can handle it, y'all. We're here with you. We can make it happen. You can live a more sustainable lifestyle. And then, well, really, thanks for listening to this episode of Recouped. I'm Vicky.
And I'm Michelle. And we would love to hear more from you guys. Like, if there are sustainable practices in your home that you feel are working really, really great and you want to share, you can leave a review for us down at the bottom, and you can give us some tips and pointers, and we love any input.
Talk about tips. We do have a tip jar too.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to hear more about the sustainable things that we do, sustainable lifestyles, you can buy us a coffee to keep our show going.
It's market season right now for us. It's hot. We're going to get an iced coffee to make these days a little brighter.
Yeah, and if you're local to us, come and find us. Find us on our website, www.recookedpnw.com, or on Instagram. You can find more about our business, but you can also find out where we are next. And you could meet your Recouped ladies in real life.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again. And remember to reduce, reuse, and recoup. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Bye.